Of all the goals you set for 2025, how many did you actually achieve? If you're looking back at your promises and realizing you delivered on almost none of them, then this video is for you. In this video, we are not talking about fleeting motivation or vague positive thinking. We are going to give you 5 simple yet ruthlessly effective strategies, 5 tools verified in the laboratory, not just by some personal development guru. These methods are designed to permanently and significantly boost your odds of actually achieving your goals. They do not require superhuman discipline. They require only precise application, almost as easy as brewing your morning coffee. Think of this video as the definitive blueprint forged from the best research available. So, what happens to our New Year's resolutions? Every single year, we write a Hollywood-level script for our future. That perfect fitness regimen, the ambitious side hustle, the new language we're going to master. We call it our resolution. And then, just like 92% of those resolutions, the blockbuster completely fails by March. It suffers from the Hollywood fade. The ambitious story we wrote for January simply can't sustain itself through the boring, demanding reality of February and beyond. The core of the problem is this: we treat goal achievement as a massive burst of hope and motivation rather than what it truly is, an act of precise engineering. If you've ever felt the sting of failure, you are not alone. You were just using the wrong toolkit. And the year 2026 demands a completely different approach. Why 2026 specifically? Because 2025 was a year of profound chaos, sudden changes, and total unpredictability for so many people. We all learned that pure willpower and vague intentions aren't enough when life throws unexpected curveballs. For 2026, we need to stop riding in the back seat and hoping we get to the right destination and take the steering wheel into our own hands. We don't need more inspiration. We need an unyielding, scientifically backed action plan. If you are already executing all 5 of these steps, you are a rarity and you are already winning. If you're not using even one of these methods, then you are standing at the threshold of the easiest, highest impact wins of your life. Ready to stop writing scripts for failure and start engineering success? Let's dive into strategy number 1, the shift from a fleeting thought to a material, undeniable artifact. This strategy is about making your intention real, external, and undeniable. Many people keep their goals as fleeting whispers in their mental chatter, a concept your brain can easily discard the next time you get distracted by social media. But history shows us the power of external commitment. Consider this powerful analogy: success measured by artifact. Back in ancient Babylon, whenever someone made a critical agreement, it wasn't just a verbal promise. It was enshrined on a clay tablet. They had to apply effort to inscribe the commitment, turning a temporary idea into a permanent physical artifact. The act of externalizing the commitment made it irrevocable. This is the exact same psychological power you harness when you write down a goal. Jim Rohn, a highly successful entrepreneur and business coach, had an interesting encounter that illustrates this perfectly. When Rohn was a young man and broke, he was mentored by a business tycoon. One morning, his mentor asked Rohn to show him his current list of goals. Rohn admitted he didn't have one. He kept all his goals in his head. Hearing this, the mentor chuckled and, with accuracy down to just a few $100s, guessed the low balance in Rohn's bank account. The mentor stressed that writing down your goals is critically important. Even if the action seems trivial, it dynamically affects your life. But we don't rely on stories alone. What does the science say about the act of recording? A study from Dominican University specifically tested if writing down goals changes the likelihood of achieving them. The results were staggering. Researchers found that if you simply write down your goals, you are around 42% more likely to actually achieve them. Stop and process that number. This is one of the biggest, fastest, highest leverage improvements you can make in your life. It's a literal free cheat code that scientists discovered, yet most people refuse to even press the button. This act of writing is called encoding specificity. When you physically transcribe a goal, you encode the information using motor skills, typing, or handwriting, which creates a stronger, more complex memory trace than just internal rehearsal. Furthermore, by placing the goal on an external medium, you create an external memory storage, freeing up your brain's most precious resource, its processing power. This simple step transforms the goal from a vague wish into a cognitive instruction. Think about that. You can boost your probability of success by nearly half simply by dedicating a few minutes to writing. That's a massive, high-leverage win. Why does this happen? Your brain is fundamentally a machine for generating and analyzing ideas, not for storing long-term complex obligations. When you write your goals down, you free up cognitive resource. You move the mental burden of remembering the goal from your volatile working memory to a stable external database. You're effectively saying, "Okay, brain, you don't need to babysit this anymore. It's logged." How to implement this strategy? Instead of setting vague annual resolutions, we recommend creating a goal contract, micro sprints of 90 days. We call this the time capsule metaphor. You seal your commitments into this capsule for the next quarter, making them sacred. Limit your scope, set no more than 3 or 4 primary goals per quarter. If you set more than 4, your progress on all of them tends to stall. This is not about being busy, it's about being effective. Format. It doesn't matter if you use a Google Doc, a physical journal, or an app. The key is the act of inscription. Make sure these 3 or 4 goals are visible and easy to access. The power of clarity. Ensure they are specific enough that you know exactly when you've hit them. The first mistake people make is not setting goals at all. The second is setting them but not writing them down. But there is a third, equally destructive mistake, and it leads us directly to strategy number 2. Mistake number 3. Setting your goals in January and never looking at them again. They become dead letters in a file drawer. Strategy number 2 is about tuning the internal radar. We are going to intentionally harness a fascinating part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS. The RAS is a bundle of nerves at the base of your brainstem that acts as a fundamental filter. You are constantly bombarded by millions of sensory inputs. The RAS determines what information your brain pays attention to and, more importantly, what it filters out. It constantly scans the environment for things relevant to your current goals and priorities. If your goals are tucked away in a dusty notebook, the RAS assumes they are irrelevant static and filters them out. To understand how this works, think about a common experience. For instance, you tell a friend you want to get a specific breed of dog, say a Yorkie. As soon as you voice that intention, Yorkies start appearing literally everywhere near your house, on your run in the park, or maybe one of your colleagues suddenly adopts one. Now for a more complex example. Imagine you decide to master a new rare profession, say historical restoration. Before setting this goal, you never noticed restorers. But now that you've set the intention, your brain becomes your internal detective. Suddenly, everywhere you look, you start seeing clues. Every article about architecture, every job posting, every person who even remotely works in that field. That's the RAS at work. It's scanning your environment, seeking evidence to support your new priority. To activate this detective, you must give it the daily wanted poster. You must feed the RAS your goals regularly. This is why strategy #2 is to look at your written goals every single week, if not every single day. This simple act is a 10-second jog that your brain needs. It prevents your priorities from getting completely eclipsed by the immediate demands of your calendar and your inbox. How to implement the triple check ritual. Your goal viewing should be like checking a compass, not reading a book. It should be quick and essential. The weekly check-in, the general map. Once a week, as part of a weekly reset, review your 90-day goal contracts. This keeps the big picture alive. The daily check-in micro-navigation. Every morning, as part of your ritual, glance at your 3 main priorities for the current week. Ask yourself, what were my priorities, and how were they progressing? The 10-second rule. This ritual takes literally 10 seconds at most. It's a tiny prompt to remind you, oh right, I intended to sign up for that class, or I need to block time for that important work task. You need to be vigilant about this, because even those who know how our brain works sometimes still fall off track. A couple of weeks without review, and you instantly become less consistent with the goals you set. You need that regular activation to stop your brain from becoming goal blind. Now that we know how to write goals and how to keep them top of mind, how do we prevent the system from breaking down? That brings us to strategy number 3. We've recorded our goals, strategy 1, and we've kept them visible. Strategy 2. But what happens in the messy middle? When the daily grind hits, this is where many systems break down. Strategy number 3 is logging the flight, the simple non-negotiable act of regularly monitoring your progress. Think of this through the autopilot metaphor. When a pilot flies from, say, New York to London, the plane is actually off course 99% of the time due to wind, turbulence, and minor errors. The plane doesn't reach London by aiming perfectly and staying straight. It reaches London because the autopilot is constantly monitoring the instruments and making tiny course corrections. If you stop logging your flight, you're flying blind, relying purely on luck. The evidence for this is overwhelming. A meta-analysis covering 138 studies, involving nearly 20,000 participants, found that the single crucial factor that improves the odds of goal attainment is simply monitoring your progress regularly. Why does this work so well? The domino effect. Monitoring breaks down a massive, overwhelming goal into a series of visible, achievable steps. It allows you to transform write a book into hit 500 words today. Dopamine fuel. Tracking progress turns your work into a game. Think of it as your experience meter, or the leveling up bar in a video game. As you log your progress, that visible change triggers a release of dopamine, providing immediate positive reinforcement and making the work feel better and more satisfying. To implement it, you don't need a complex software system. You need a fast, honest check-in. We call this the traffic light tango. When you do your weekly review from strategy 2, assign one of these 3 statuses to each of your 90-day goal contracts. Green. On track, everything is under control. Keep moving. Yellow. Slight deviation, but you have a plan for correction. This is where most flying happens. Red. Significantly off track, requires immediate intervention and strategic replanning. Just checking that status, whether it's daily on your weekly priorities or weekly on your quarterly goals, is the engine that keeps your system moving. It's free goal attainment points. If you aren't monitoring the flight, you're leaving those points on the table. But what if you hit a massive roadblock? What if a red status appears? Simply identifying the problem is not enough. You need a plan. This leads us to our next strategy. Strategy number 4 comes from psychologist Gabrielle Upidingen and her renowned technique, mental contrasting. This strategy is the antidote to naive optimism. Here is the danger of simple visualization. People who spend too long visualizing only having already achieved their goals, the sunny outcome, the perfect moment, can paradoxically become less likely to achieve them. We call this the Titanic syndrome. The Titanic represented the pinnacle of confidence and luxury, visualizing only the perfect arrival, ignoring the real dangerous world of icebergs. That sheer overconfidence leads to complacency. Researchers found that when people only visualize the perfect outcome, their brains sometimes mistake the mental rehearsal for actual achievement, leading to a state of premature cognitive gratification. They feel the rewards without doing the work. Mental contrasting, however, grounds the wish in reality. It forces your prefrontal cortex to engage in genuine problem solving, making the necessary mental leap from dreaming about the goal to planning the execution steps required to overcome the anticipated friction. True success requires combining visualization of the positive outcome with a clear-eyed look at the obstacles. You must become an engineer of failure prevention. This is accomplished through the simple 4-step technique called WHOOP. 1. Wish. The goal you seek. 2. Outcome. The best feeling result of achieving it. 3. Obstacle. The biggest internal or external challenge standing in your way. 4. Plan. the concrete steps to overcome that obstacle. Let's apply this to a new goal. Launching a side project to earn additional income. Wish. I wish to launch my side project by the end of the quarter. The outcome will be gaining financial leverage and validation of my skills. Obstacle. What is the iceberg here? It's not a lack of time. It's procrastination and self-doubt. Internal obstacle when I sit down to work. Plan. The if-then strategy. This must be an actionable plan. The key sentence is, if this obstacle happens, then I will do this. If I feel demotivated when I sit down to work, then I will immediately use the Pomodoro timer for 15 minutes, not 25, to lower the activation energy. A plan that doesn't include a strategy for dealing with friction is just a wish. According to research, spending literally 3 minutes after setting a goal to whoop, it will drastically improve your odds of achievement. You are taking control of the variables before they control you. But all these strategies still rely on action. And the single strongest force in the human personality that drives consistent action is found in strategy number 5. Our final and arguably most profound strategy is shifting into I am mode, tying your goals directly to your identity. Think about the difference between an action and an identity. In one famous study, participants were divided into 2 groups regarding an upcoming election. One group A was asked, "Will you vote in this election?" Action 2. Group B was asked, "Will you be a voter in this election?" Identity. The group asked about being a voter was significantly more likely to cast a ballot. This is the actor's method for success. An actor doesn't just perform a role, they try to become the role. When you attach a goal, for example, losing weight, to an identity. For example, I am a high-energy, healthy person. Your brain is forced to maintain congruence with that label. Your decisions are no longer about willpower. They are about proving yourself right about who you are. Tony Robbins famously stated that the strongest force in human personality is the need to stay consistent in how we define ourselves. How to implement it. Rename your role. Define your role. Instead of setting the goal, I want to get up early, you define yourself as an early riser. Instead of I want to save money, you are a financial strategist. Fight imposter syndrome. Yes, this feels like imposter syndrome initially. You might feel like a fraud, but if you call yourself a writer, what does a writer do? A writer writes. If you call yourself an entrepreneur, what does an entrepreneur do? They create value and solve problems. The power of the morning, when you wake up and ask, what should I do today? The answer is determined by your identity. If you are a healthy person, skipping the workout is much harder than if you are merely someone trying to lose 5 pounds. This identity shift is your ultimate defense against self-sabotage. When you rely only on willpower, you have a finite resource that gets depleted throughout the day. When you rely on identity, the difficult choice becomes the natural choice. You are no longer asking, do I have the energy to write today? You are asserting, I am a writer. I write. This bypasses the need for constant, exhausting self-negotiation, making consistency automatic. By shifting into I am mode, you move beyond the need for constant motivation. You are more likely to do the things that a high performer, a healthy person, or a successful entrepreneur does. This is the ultimate multiplier for achieving your goals in 2026. If you incorporate all 5 of these evidence-based strategies, the artifact, the internal detective, the flight log, the iceberg plan, and the I am mode, you have built a robust anti-fragile system for achievement in 2026. But there is one final, critical mistake that trips up even the most organized people: the overloaded hard drive. This is the biggest trap setting too many goals. If you define 15 different priorities for yourself, you are not multiplying your success. You are merely dividing your energy. Your brain cannot maintain focus on a dozen different major initiatives simultaneously. You are effectively overwhelming your hard drive, slowing down the processing speed for every single task. The goal is not to be busy. The goal is to be effective. Focus on 1 or 2 critical goals that will create momentum, rather than 10 mediocre ones. You now have the 5 tools that stack the deck in your favor. You don't need magic, motivation, or superhuman effort. You just need practice. The difference between who you are now and the person you want to be in 26 is not a matter of destiny, it's a matter of daily, precise practice. So go build the life you scripted. Ready to start. Pick just one of these 5 strategies. We recommend strategy #1, the artifact, and apply it right now. And for your first act of practice, share one of your core goals for 2026 in the comments below. First, you'll put strategy #1 into immediate practice and feel the difference of clearly articulating your intention. Second, your goals might inspire someone else to change their life, just as you might be inspired by the goals of other commenters. Let's ignite this community with ideas.